Greetings and welcome to Your Positive Lens, where we hope to adjust your focus so you see that members of your local law enforcement community are not much different than you and me. I'm your host, Scott T., and this is Episode 7, High Risk Maneuver and Water Rescue. If you recall from several weeks ago, we talked about what people typically express as the worst ways to die, which was either by fire or drowning. In that episode, we spoke of the courageous and selfless acts of two officers who saved a driver from a burning vehicle. In this episode, we will talk about a few stories, including the efforts to prevent and save individuals from drowning. Let's get started. Most of us, when we just got out of training and onto the floor of a new job, are trying to get familiar with the landscape and try to work ourselves into the role, especially when it's only our fourth day on the job. However, when you work in law enforcement, day 4 has to be like year 4. There's no type of let me get acclimated or wait for the right time to jump in. You have to jump in from day 1. That's exactly what happened to Trooper Noah Misiak of the Michigan State Police, according to MLive. Trooper Misiak, who only recently graduated in November, is part of the Sault Ste. Marie Post, and along with Trooper Rachel Olison, were called into action. They responded to a call where they found a 60-year-old woman, unresponsive, not breathing, and without a pulse, slumped over in her vehicle. The troopers, with help from the woman's son, were able to remove her from the vehicle and start performing life-saving measures until EMS arrived, and the woman would eventually regain her pulse. The immediate actions of Trooper Olison and Trooper Misiak, who was only on day 4, saved this woman's life. The immediate awareness to assess and render life-saving aid while remaining calm in a high-stress situation is indicative of the immense amounts of training the Michigan State Police must complete. They must be prepared from day 1 or day 4. Thank you, Michigan State Police, for preparing all of your graduates to be immediately prepared for the call to action. And both Trooper Misiak and Trooper Olison for your professionalism and immediate actions to save this woman's life. Well done. Imagine you are driving down the road at, let's say, 30 miles per hour, and when you try to apply your brakes, your car did not slow down. You continue to pump your brakes frantically, but nothing is happening. Imagine your thoughts if you now realize there's a lake up ahead and you still cannot stop. It's 2 a.m. in the morning and you're pregnant. Well, this is exactly what recently happened to an expected mother in Illinois, per the Southern Illinoisan. The Williamson County Sheriff's Office was responding to a 911 call that came in shortly after 2 a.m. that a vehicle was unable to stop. As officers made contact with the vehicle, they could see the brake lights were on, indicating that the driver was engaging the brake, but the vehicle was not slowing down, continuing at approximately 30 miles per hour. With water up ahead, the deputy had to think quick and conduct a safe and effective maneuver to slow down or stop the runaway vehicle, while also not endangering the driver, others on the road, or themselves. The decision was made. The deputy was going to pass the vehicle and perform a rolling roadblock. Now, if you have not seen a rolling roadblock, it takes precision and control to avoid escalating an already dangerous situation. After passing the runaway vehicle, the deputy needed to position his patrol vehicle in front of the pregnant woman's car and slowly decelerate until the rear bumper of the patrol vehicle and the front bumper of the woman's car made contact. Once the two bumpers were engaged, the deputy could apply his brakes as necessary to get both vehicles to come to a complete stop and then safely evacuate the car. Thankfully, the maneuver was a success. The vehicle stopped about a quarter-mile short of Crab Orchard Lake, and both the woman and the deputy were safe. Thank you to the Williamson Sheriff's Office, Deputy Tyler Coffey, and all the deputies who were involved in performing this high-risk maneuver. You saved an already dangerous and scary situation from becoming an even more treacherous and perilous water rescue. Thank you. Speaking of water rescues, and going back to our intro, die by fire or die by drowning, the two most frequently cited worst ways to die that have been shared with me. Again, we previously spoke of a daring fire rescue several weeks ago, so now it's time to explore the water rescue. The St. Johns County Sheriff's Office received a 911 call at about 5 a.m. The two 18-year-olds were trapped inside a sinking car that crashed into water in St. Augustine, Florida, as reported by the Charlotte Observer. Upon arriving, the officers found the two individuals trapped in the car, which was taking on water, and the front of the car was already underwater. The officers advised the two young women who were trapped that they needed to unbuckle their seatbelts and exit through the windows. Then suddenly, the vehicle plummeted some 20 feet to the bottom of the pond. Fortunately, both women were able to exit the vehicle right before it took a nosedive, but one of them did not know how to swim. That's where Deputy Jay Glines jumped into the water and helped bring the woman to the bank of the pond. The instruction to the officers and Deputy Glines entering the water prevented a terrible accident from becoming a terrible tragedy. Thank you to the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office and Deputy Glines for your immediate response and calmness in a high-pressure situation for these two young women. Many might ask, why didn't the drivers think to unbuckle their seatbelts when the car was taking on water? Now, I cannot speak for these drivers specifically, but what I can say is, all folks respond differently to various levels of stress and anxiety. While in the right frame of mind, one might think rationally. Just unbuckle the seatbelt and climb out. But when you're in a panic and water is coming into your car and you may or may not know how to swim, all rational thoughts go out the window. Most individuals do not train to evacuate a sinking car. Heck, most folks complain about having to perform a fire drill at their place of employment, especially if they need to exit several flights of stairs. Some may even ask why the driver of the runaway vehicle did not attempt to put on the emergency brake or put the car in park. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. Either way, these three individuals were facing a high-stress, high-anxiety situation that I believe is safe to say they have never practiced for or experienced in their lives. So rather than question why the individuals did not perform actions based on us having 20/20 hindsight, I would like to commend these individuals for being able to competently dial 911 and explain to the dispatcher the situation at hand and communicate their location. We've all seen or heard of the individuals that freeze up and are unable to dial 911 in a panic or high stress situation. These ladies, on the other hand, were able to complete the calls that probably saved their lives. Think about it. It did not take long to go a quarter of a mile at 30 miles per hour, which is all the time it would have taken for the expecting mother to have ended up in a lake. Or for the two 18-year-olds' car to plunge 20 feet to the bottom of the pond. The difference between making the dial and not making the dial could have been the loss of 4 lives. Once again, I commend these individuals for being able to dial 911 in their own high-pressure situation and communicate their needs and location to the dispatcher. Well done, ladies. I'd like to thank Troopers Olison and Masiak of the Michigan State Police, Deputy Tyler Coffey of the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, and Deputy Jay Glines of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, along with all the other officers and troopers who were involved in the positive law enforcement news stories featured on this episode. Your actions in these stories continue to illustrate the great lengths that officers go to every day to ensure the safety of the citizens and communities they serve. Please continue to share your positive law enforcement news stories. You can send us a private message or email us at mystory@yourpositivelens.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Head to the comments section now and let us know what you think. Good, bad, or indifferent. We look forward to hearing your feedback. Continue to share and follow our LinkedIn and Facebook pages, where you can get all the latest updates, and be sure to follow and listen to our podcast, as we are now available on most major listening platforms. Remember, you can always find places that will share negative law enforcement news stories, but here at Your Positive Lens, you will only find your positive law enforcement news stories. Once again, I'm your host, Scott T. Thanks for listening, and we'll capture you on the next Your Positive Lens.